These images show Truk Lagoon under attack by the American fleet in February 1944. The burning ship in the background is the Fujisan Maru, and the black smoke in the foreground comes from the oil storage facilities on Dublon Island. Moored just off the pier is a large oil tanker, the 10,000-tonne Fujisan Maru. Most of the ships close by have already sunk, or will do so through the night. Before dawn, the Fuji San's captain makes the fateful decision to leave the protection of the anti-aircraft guns on the island and try to make it to the open sea via the Northeast Passage. But the American planes are already circling the lagoon, waiting for dawn before they attack again, and the result is deadly. The ship suffers fatal wounds to the stern and sinks slowly, stern first. We pass the remains of the wharf as it stands today. The extended wooden pier has long since disappeared, but the structure remains intact. It's only a short 6 kilometres to the wreck site from the Blue Lagoon Resort. The run along the coast passes a number of fishing vessels washed ashore from a 2015 typhoon. The Fuji San's position far out towards the passage means the dive is generally blessed with clear water. The wreck lies at a depth of just over 60 metres, or 200 feet below. The bridge and adjoining superstructure were left largely undamaged. So apart from marine growth, these corridors are almost unchanged from the time her crew abandoned the Fuji San decades earlier. The ship lies with a list to port of about 45 degrees, and so her starboard promenade deck is beautifully lit by sunlight in the clear blue waters of the lagoon. It's an easy swim along the wide companionway towards the entrance of the amidship superstructure. An open doorway leads to a cabin with a maze of electrical cabling hanging from the ceiling. Further along, we find a number of sinks and a hot water urn, relics of the bathroom facilities. The bulkheads that once partitioned these rooms have long since disappeared. On the deck below, we find a storehouse of ropes, hoses and valves, equipment used as part of the tanker's daily routine. The Fuji San had the capacity to hold over 12,000 tonnes of fuel, but fortunately for the environment, she and the other two tankers, Hoyo and Shinkoku, were empty when lost. Up on the top deck in the remnants of the bridge is a telegraph fixed to the framework. It shows full speed ahead, a sign of the ship's desperate bid to escape. Barely discernible is what is left of the helm. A ladder leads up to the remains of several cabins and a small bathroom. the rear of the centre island deckhouse heading down towards the ocean floor. Along the portside promenade deck, layers of silt have built up over the years. This is a huge shipwreck with so many places to be explored. From here, a large piece of wreckage caught our interest, lying on the sand below. Closer inspection showed it to be the huge signalling light, the aperture mechanism still clearly visible. Shooting up from the sand at 61 metres or over 200 feet, the island deckhouse makes a stunning silhouette. Making our way forward, we find one of two paravanes on the starboard side of the deck. Used to defend the ship against sea mines, paravanes were connected by a cable, usually from the bow. Once deployed, the wings on the paravane would force its body away from the ship. Floating mines would be snagged by the tow line and slide along it to meet the paravane, which would slice through the cable securing it to the seabed. The mine would float to the surface where it could be detonated by the crew. The gun pedestal remains in position, but there is no gun to be seen in the area or on the sand below. At the very tip of the bow, encrusted in colourful marine growth, is the bow docking telegraph. This shot of the bow shows the vessel's list to port. Fuji San's port anchor is deployed and disappears under the ship. The starboard anchor lies just metres out of the hawse pipe. This massive anchor is over 4 metres long and has become a beautiful example of nature's kaleidoscope. Following the catwalk, it's a long swim towards the stern. This walkway, standard in all tankers, gave crew easy and safe access about the ship in rough seas. The funnel has fallen to the deck but remains largely intact. Close by is the entry into the massive engine room, a maze of catwalks and ladders built around the ship's impressive diesel motor. In the background is the engine room skylight. Silence in what was once the heart of the ship. It's easy to imagine marine engineers and their assistants going about their duty maintaining the workings of the vessel along these walkways. Here, a maintenance job, never to be completed, still sits on the workbench. This early picture is of the Fuji San's engine. Common to diesel engines of this size is an oil flow meter, and they can also be seen in the engine rooms of the Shinkoku and the Kensho. A classic shipwreck scene, this massive four-bladed propeller could drive the ship at a very respectable speed of 19 knots when she was empty. It is well worth the effort to get here at a depth of 57 metres or just under 190 feet. This view of the stern shows the immense size of this wreck. The decision to leave the protection of the intense anti-aircraft fire stationed on Dublon and Atan Islands was unfortunate. Several freighters anchored close by survived undamaged.
We were almost at the end of the dive when we noticed it. It remains the most memorable scene I've ever filmed underwater.
The sheer size of the Fuji San and her location in brilliant blue water means she is a wreck to be visited again and again.